Week 5 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few hitters buy and trade for this week. The first hitter, Matt Olson, the Atlanta Braves. So Matt Olson, after a monster year last season here, it's just been a horrible start for him, and he's not hitting the baseball at all, really, or doing anything for fantasy owners. Same with Ronald Acuna. It's been a slow year besides the stolen bases. On the season for Olson, 3 home runs, 15 RBIs, 14 runs scored, a 202 average, and 317 on base. Very concerning, no doubt about it, for Matt Olson. The first month of the season, he just couldn't do anything or show power. If he showed some power at least, even with the low average, he'll take it. But 18 straight games now, he hasn't hit a home run. He's Matt Olson. And in that time as well, the last 2 weeks, in 38 at-bats, 3 for 38, no home runs, 4 RBIs, 3 runs scored, a 0.79 average, and a 250 on base. So Matt Olson, hopefully he could wake up and get things going. But right now, for fantasy owners who are looking for a big bat and someone who's struggling, this is a perfect time to go out there and buy Olson. He's not going to have a low this bad, I believe, here, where he only had 3 home runs in the month, and he's batting way under the Mendoza line in the last 2 weeks. So the last few games, April 27th versus the Guardians, 0 for 4. April 28th versus the Guardians, 1 for 4 in RBI. April 29th at the Mariners, 0 for 3. And April 30th at the Mariners, 0 for 2. So right now, he's only 30 years old, is Matt Olson. I don't think this is the end, that after a season of hitting 54 homers last year, that he turns around the next season and can't do anything. So right now, while he's in a crazy slump and not doing anything, and his value's the lowest it could be, he's a perfect buy low candidate this week. Because if Olson gets going and gets on a tear, this guy could carry a fantasy team for the whole season like he did last year. The next hitter, Ha-Seong Kim of the San Diego Padres. So Kim, I like him a lot for fantasy baseball in the year. Not a great year. Batting average is way down so far in the early going. He's showed some pop. Stolen bases are decent. Position eligibility, second, third, and short, is huge on the year for Kim. 4 home runs, 17 RBIs, 7 stolen bases, 19 runs scored, a 216 average, and a 324 on base. So still, stolen bases are very solid for Kim this year. His on-base percentage, he's always been an on-base guy. And even the home runs at 4 isn't bad. Last year, he finished with 17. So right now, Kim, not totally slumping, but still someone I believe that's under the radar, and you could buy low this week. In the last couple weeks, he struggled, though. 1 home run, 5 RBIs, 7 runs scored, 3 stolen bases, a 200 average, and a 294 on base. So even with struggles, Kim does bring runs scored on base and stolen bases for fantasy owners, where that's always a positive, that he could show something instead of nothing, even when he's slumping. April 27th versus Philly, 0 for 3. April 28th versus the Phillies, 0 for 3, a run. April 29th versus the Reds, 0 for 3. And April 30th versus the Reds in that one, 1 for 4 with a run. So he's not really getting hits, is Kim. He's got dropped in the lineup a little bit as well, where he used to be up early in the lineup. But this season, more batting 5th, 6th, but now 7th and 8th, we've seen him a lot. So hopefully Kim could get things going, because if he could get going, get on base more, and obviously show some pop as well, he's going to have a lot of value. But like I said, he's still stealing bases, scoring runs, and he qualifies at second, short, and third, which is big. So right now, while he's slumping, he's a perfect buy low candidate this week. The next hitter, Randy Rosario of the Tampa Bay Rays. There's some big hitters on this list this season, where they were early draft picks in most fantasy leagues, and these guys aren't doing anything on the year. 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, 12 runs scored, 4 stolen bases, an alarming 36 strikeouts already in 112 at-bats, a 143 average, and a 220 on base. So a Rosario, I thought he was going to take the next step, but last season in the second half of the year, the numbers dropped off. And so far this season, we virtually seen nothing from him on the year as well. In the last couple weeks, way down there. 1 home run, 4 RBIs, a stolen base, 3 runs scored, a 106 average, and a 192 on base. So him and Matt Olson, very alarming for sure. But like I said, these are 2 players, if they get things going, could carry a team for weeks on end, or even the whole season if they really catch fire here. So a Rosario struggling. We know he's the anchor in this lineup, and we know this Tampa Bay lineup isn't all that great as well. If they could call up top prospect Junior Caminero, I think it could help everyone in the lineup. But anyway, he's struggling, a Rosario. April 26th at the White Sox, 0 for 3. April 27th at the White Sox, 1 for 6, 2 RBIs. April 28th at the White Sox, 0 for 1. April 29th at the Brewers, 0 for 3. And April 30th at the Brewers, 0 for 4. So, like I said, he's only got 2 hits in the last 6 games here as a Rosario. Definitely struggling, but also someone that has a lot of upside. Obviously, we've seen consistency in his career. And right now, perfect buy low candidate. Next hit is Wyatt Lanford of the Texas Rangers. So Langford, he tore it up in the spring training, and I know it is spring training, and we've seen guys like Chris Shelton, and you're probably saying, who is that, have monster spring trainings? But Langford, one of the top prospects coming into the year for this Texas Ranger team. And so far this season, it's been a struggle, no doubt about it. 1 home run, 11 RBIs, 13 runs scored, a stolen base, a .238 average, and a .314 on base. So him and Evan Carter and even Corey Seager, 3 hitters they counted on a lot so far to go into the season. Haven't done much for this Ranger team, but these guys, once the weather gets warmer, and a rookie like Langford, it just takes that changing moment where he really gets the game slowed down, and that's where he really could get things going, because we've seen a lot of guys struggle in their first stint in the major leagues. Then they go back to the minors for a little bit, they come up, and then they go on a tear. But anyway, April 25th versus Seattle, 0 for 3 a run, a stolen base. April 26th versus the Reds, 0 for 3. April 27th versus the Reds, 1 for 4. April 28th versus the Reds, 1 for 3, a homer, 2 RBIs. And April 30th versus the Nationals, 0 for 4. So Langford definitely struggling in the early going, but his on-base percentage is still pretty good, where he's got a decent eye for rookie. And we know this kid's got major pop and also could be a good stolen base threat, but he's just got to get on base more. And like I said, the first 105 at-bats of his major league career haven't been great, but if the game could slow down for him, he could be a big-time player. And right now, since he's struggling, he's a perfect buy low hitter this week, and the 5th and final hitter I look to buy and trade for is another player who was a monster last year. One of the better years we've seen from a rookie ever, Corbin Carroll of the Arizona Diamondbacks. So this Diamondback team, it's just been a slumping season for the most part for them, and a World Series hangover as well. They're starting to get things going a little bit, and we've seen some games where they've had big runs scored, but also some tough losses, and some of their best players aren't doing much on the season. Carroll, 1 home run, 5 RBIs, 8 stolen bases, 13 runs scored, a .193 average, and a .292 on base. Carroll, he was obviously a late first rounder, early second rounder in fantasy drafts coming into the year. Right now, he hasn't done much. The only positive is his stolen bases already at 8 on the year, where I think he could steal, once again, anywhere from 35 to the 50 range, where last year he had 54 stolen bases. The power, I definitely could see that being down. Corbin Carroll, a smaller type of player, and last year he did hit 25 home runs and scored 116 runs, but he needs to really turn things on if he wants to match those numbers from last season. So right now he hasn't done much, but like I said, the positives are the on-base percentage and the stolen bases, and the strikeout rate is up there a little bit more as well. In the last 2 weeks for Carroll, no homers, no RBIs, a stolen base, 2 runs scored, a .133 average, and a .220 on base. He struggled mightily, no doubt about it, for fantasy owners who might want to give up on him already, even though it's only been a month to 5 weeks here where he hasn't done much. April 26th at the Mariners, 0 for 3. April 27th at the Mariners, 0 for 3. April 28th at the Mariners, 0 for 4. April 29th versus the Dodgers, 1 for 4. And April 30th versus the Dodgers, 1 for 4. So he's struggling mightily, Corbin Carroll. And this week, a lot of big names here that is slumping big time that I would go out there and buy low, since he hasn't done much. And fantasy owners definitely are frustrated, I would believe, taking this guy in the first, second round, and the numbers have been non-existent. He's a buy low candidate this week, so that's a few hitters I look to buy and trade for Week 5 of the fantasy baseball season.